or hope where cynicism has set in. Via Campesina is a great example of farmers and peasants groups making alliances worldwide, working together in opposition to the global capitalist industrial agriculture setup, working to promote food sovereignty and the right to determine for themselves outside the rules of the WTO, etc., and in opposition to TRIPS, the patenting of seeds, etc. This is a politically conscious alliance of groups, groups of peasants and workers and farm workers opposed to a system that is seeking their demise. They're gaining support and allies globally, whilst showing an alternative paradigm to that of global capital's vision for organising production and community. They aren't waiting and hoping to be given a better choice. Whose direction are they travelling more closely to? 80% of the world's food is produced by women. Allied to Via Campesina is the Rural and Urban Women for Food Sovereignty movement, whose stated mission is, and I quote, "We are fighting for a new economy that respects people and nature, that includes everyone and guarantees the just distribution of all production so that everyone can have a life of dignity, happiness, autonomy and sovereignty. Common ground." Finding common ground and making alliances is a continuous process, and it can happen anywhere and any time on the continuum, from face-to-face local contact to global networks made by internet involving from 2 to 200 million or more people. The idea of global exchanges I find exciting. One reason being it helps us to guard from being too insular or too arrogant. Over the centuries, this little island colonised great swathes of the Earth's surface, and sometimes it appears that much of the population still thinks that gives them automatic superiority of rights and opinions. However, according to one post-colonial Indian, Sunita Narain, there's a fundamental difference between rich and poor's response to climate change and to many other issues too, and suggests that we need to see climate change in the faces of the millions who lost their homes in cyclones in Bangladesh and Burma, and those lost in floods caused by extreme rainfall. And to be clear, that the thousands who died did so because the rich failed to contain their emissions in the pursuit of economic growth. The answer, she suggests, is to reduce needs and increase efficiency for every inch of land, every tonne of mineral and every drop of water used. Well, we know the capitalist system would argue against the charges posed, and India itself is committed to increase growth again this year. But we would argue that the unending quest for profit is integral to the system and has priority over any consideration for people or environment. We recognise that in the rich world, many current so-called needs are actually wants or desires, which the present system actively encourages to fulfil, again in the pursuit of profit. In a socialist system, it will be everyone's right to satisfaction of genuine needs, and with common ownership and democratic control, it will be in everyone's interest to take good care of our shared environment, and there will be no incentive either to despoil or overuse. Well, I'd just like to spend a few minutes and sum up here, if I may. By the time our destination is in sight, we will have had many conversations and found much common ground through our associations and forged alliances. The more that organisational aspects will have been taken on locally, at area or community level, the more true participatory democracy will have become apparent to the people. The more control that societies will have taken into their own hands, the more that corporations will have shriveled. We will have seen the power of governments decline as power was decentralised and devolved to local democratic groups. Meantime, on the road, we have to be discussing how we can incorporate the solid ideas of all those other groups which have various measures of hostility to the status quo. How should we increase awareness, our own as well as that of all the individuals and groups who will gradually coalesce into our movement as the alliances form, gel and overlap? Think of a Venn diagram with lots of circles, each containing a separate issue. As you bring the circles closer together, they begin to overlap and the common areas become clear. As long as the separate issues appear isolated one from another, people will continue to seek solutions separately and in isolation. It's up to us to facilitate the process of getting folk to make the connections. When people learn to look at each other's issues, shared ideas can lead to shared solutions. And in our cases, all issues trace back to the same root cause, capitalism. Each issue needs a solution. But when each of the issues can be seen to be merely one part of a much bigger whole, then disparate groups can come together and work for complementary ends. Now, as you see, I'm not a socialist intellectual. I'm just a common old garden socialist, and really I have been all my life. But it's only the last 5 years or so, since I discovered the party, that I've begun the real learning process. But the point I'm trying to make is that surely there are plenty of more out there like me who just need to find one of you who can let them know that they're not on their own when they think that socialism is about getting authority off our backs. It's about throwing off the heavy-handed control of all areas of our life. It's about self-determination. It's about people getting on with their lives in cooperation with others. And it's about bequeathing a better world to future generations, one in which societies can thrive in harmony with their environment. I believe we all need to look outwards to try and understand the different perspectives of the others. Our own perspective is not the only one. It isn't necessarily always the right one, at least not the only right one. We are planning to arrive at a destination where the whole world is a global commons, shared equitably. For this to happen, I suggest that making socialists is more important than guarding the core principles. The principles are absolutely worthy of protection and must be protected. But if that is all we do, then we'll still be doing just that, guarding the principles, in another 100 or 1,000 years' time, which may just be too late. And that's the other reason I decided to call this the road to nowhere, because if we're not intent and focused on reaching a truly socialist society in a world that's fit to live in, then we really are going nowhere. That's it. Oh.